Hey guys, what's up? It's Ben Daddy Power for a new video. And today I would like to talk about the product manager job in video game industry. For your information, I pushed already a wonderful video that I'm very proud of about this topic and I was so happy about it, really. And then I had some comments saying that the video was too long and even if it was super interesting, it was boring at the end. So I cried. More seriously, I must confess that the video was a little bit long, and I was speaking at a very slow pace. So my choices was to change the speed of the original video, but after watching it, after implementing the speed acceleration, it was like I was speaking like a Chip and Dale. Oh, no, I'm not talking about that. No! Anyway, I was just talking about these guys. And my second option was to redo this whole video, and well, here I go again. Thank you. So, my dear friends, are you hungry? Do you have the desire for discovery, for quenching your thirsts for knowledge, for imprinting in your heart the longing to uncover the world's ultimate secrets of the product manager job in the gaming industry? To impress your friends that will become so jealous so you will lose them? So it's time to talk about the product manager role. Now I see coming your first question.
What is product manager doing?
And then wonderful green dinosaur? I will try to answer this wonderful question. Basically, a product manager, as a global definition, is a professional role that is responsible for the development of products for an organization, known as the practice of product management. Product managers own the business strategy behind a product, both physical and digital products, specify its functional requirements, and generally manage the launch of features. They coordinate work done by many other functions like software engineers, data scientists, and product designers, and are ultimately responsible for the business success of the product. Also, in the financial services industry like banking, insurance, product managers manage products, for example, credit card portfolios, their profit and loss, and also determine the business development strategy. The term is often confused with other similar roles, such as the product manager that may perform all activities related to schedule and resource management, the program manager that is sometimes known as technical program manager. He may perform activities related to schedule, resource, and cross-functional execution. The product owner, a popular role in agile development methodology, may perform all activities related to a self-encapsulated feature or feature set plan development and resources. The product marketing manager, who is responsible for the outbound marketing activities of the product, not development and cross-functional execution. So now that you have a good basic understanding of what is a product manager, let's talk about the skills you need to be a good product manager in the video game industry. So first of all, you need communication and leadership skills. Why? Simply to convince people that the path you're taking is the good one and make them accept the change. Second, creativity, innovation. Because of the innovation part that forces to bring something new, we need to play games to know better the market, to go to the conferences, etc., and also to be really curious about things. Third, you need an analytic mindset. Try to sustain your decisions on data as much as possible. For example, you can use core KPI like going from beta to live, Lifetime value, how much money are a customer worth per day. Conversion, how much people are converting into spending in the game. Generally, we check the impact after changes or new features like PvP. Average revenue per paying user, spender retention versus non-spender retention. Don't worry guys, I will bring you all the metrics you need to measure all that stuff in a second. The fourth skill you need to be a good product manager is to be able to focus on feature-specific analysis. For instance, how the feature grows the business or put it down. How many people are playing tournaments? Let's say as an example 5%. It's weak, right? But we would like to increase this feature because we see that people who are involved in it have a more lifetime value than the others. The work there could be as simple as getting data from data scientist team in Excel. Then it's just a pivot table to analyze the data and get some great statistics. And finally, you want to present your findings to be able to communicate through a wonderful PowerPoint presentation. The fifth point, or we say skill, you need is being able to support live ops events. Games are going to run events, right? Could be sales or other stuff like campaigns. Verify everything is going well. If sales are going well, if setup, sales part. And the sixth skill you need is doing game economy designs. As a game economy designer part of product manager role, you will have to define how much time and resources, soft currency, it's gonna take for player to reach that different levels, like a gun in a FPS or a first-person shooter that have different level characteristic. It's all about determining the good balance between the time needed to reach a level and making this phase not too boring. Too short, people will just finish the game too fast and go back to other games. Too long, and they will think it's impossible and then just stop playing. That was the sixth point or main skills of a good product manager. Don't worry guys, nothing is impossible or innate. With a lot of work and perseverance, you can achieve everything.
Thanks for this great video and presentation. I love that, but how to start as a good product manager, Mr. Pendani? And what are the metrics we should use to do our job properly?
And Kit, or Mr. Green Dinosaur, I will answer your question very soon. But before, we've got to cover some concepts. And the first is, what are game production phases? First of all, you have the pre-production concept phase. At this point, we're working with game designers, producers, really high level, to see what the game will be. Like, what do we want to build? Is it a puzzle game? Is it a base builder? Is it a first-person shooter, tennis game? It doesn't matter, guys, just pick one game type to have something to target. At this level, or at this point, a product manager will do marketing and competition analysis to ensure that we have a good knowledge of the competition. After that, you have the production phase. You've got to ask yourself, for instance, if it's a first-person shooter game, maybe we would like to design a weapon system. And also, do we want a PvP system? Product manager will define all steps and action points where he wants to get statistics in-game and exact stats he wants. Now we are live. The game is visible by everyone, so we can say we're gold or in production. We need to see what people want. Do they want a new system, a new model, new weapons, new tracks? At this stage, product manager will become a live ops, checking, monitoring, and see how metrics are going. CPIs, CPLU, tutorial, screen flow, transitions, retention, cohort analysis, sessions time, count, average session per DAU, referrals with key factor, conversion rate, ARPU, LTV. We will see all these concepts in 1 second. And now you will ask,
how to organize a team as a product manager?
First of all, to answer that question, the team has to be a product-centric organization. Product manager holds the long-term backlog, high-level roadmap, features, goals. We observe cross-functional teams organized around topics with scope and goals. As an example, Battlefield, Chat, Evolution. The organization has to be goal-driven weekly iterations. For example, on Friday, we have weekly achievements, demo, and next week goals. On Monday, weekly goals recap. Teams decide how to track weekly progress on a weekly basis or daily basis. Basically, hey, do you remember last week we decided to do this and this and these things? We're okay? Or is it under control? Great. And now I will give you some very important statistics that are, in my opinion, vital to help you understand the current video game market, because it's also that, the video game product manager job. Majority of players are spending during the first 23% of the game. As a concrete example, in Japan and Asia, there is Monster Strike, which is doing $1.3 billion per year. More than any games, it's top one globally, it's just crazy. Only 2.2% of gamers are spending money. The goal is to find them and keep them spending in your game. 500 submissions a day of mobile video games. It's a lot of failure. Mobile gaming industry represents almost 50% of the global games market according to revised Newzoo research. The global games market was predicted to be worth $134.9 billion in 2018. The largest sector of this was mobile gaming, which was estimated to be worth $63.2 billion, 47% of the global games market. Gaming expected to be worth more than $174 billion in 2021. Asia Pacific makes up almost half of global games market. 25% revenue are made in China. 2.5 billion people globally playing mobile video games in 2019. It's a huge number. Gaming is the third most popular app category. Apps account for 90% of the time spent on smartphones. 73% of 2018 app revenue were coming from gaming. 50% of mobile gamers are women. Males and females play different types of games. 6 to 10 p.m. is the most common time to play apps. Candy Crush is still the most popular game overall. The average US consumer spent $77.60 on mobile in 2016. Mobile phone gamers in the USA is increasing steadily each year and should exceed 210 million in 2020, so this year. 63% of adult iOS Fortnite players are aged 18 to 24 and nearly 2 on 3 are male. Fortnite estimated to have exceeded 100 million downloads on iOS in just the first 138 days. The most downloaded mobile gaming app of 2018 was Alex Jump. 66% of mobile gamers have influence on those around them. 53% of Candy Crush gamers are the primary decision makers in their home. Now let's jump in what is the core toolkit of a video game product manager: data analysis, metrics, and calculation. First of all, you have the AA and RRR. The basic concept of analytics is based on 5 types of measurements of user behavior, known as AA, RRR. The first A is for acquisition, where what channels do users come from. The second A is for activation. Do users have a great first experience? The first R is for retention. Do they come back and revisit over time? The second R is for referral. Do they like it enough to tell their friends? The third R is for revenue. Can you monetize any of this behavior? So let's jump into the KPIs. KPIs are your key performance indicators. They are the metrics that you will use to define whether a game is meeting your objectives. You need to be able to define your own KPIs and events in order to ensure you are properly measuring your game on your own parameters. As each game is different, your KPIs can vary on a game-to-game basis. KPIs are metrics that help you to evaluate the success of your game or your company, give you a broad understanding of your business's current position, show your progress towards key goals. Let's start with acquisition. In acquisition, you have cost per install, so CPI, and cost per loyal user, CPLU. The cost per install measures your customer acquisition costs for customers that installed your game in response to seeing an ad. And the derived cost per loyal user metric looks at the cost of acquiring an active user, defined as anyone who launches your app at least 3 times. CPI and the derived CPLU is best used in combination with ARPU to calculate the return on investment for your marketing efforts. In order for marketing to make sense, your ARPU must be greater than your CPLU. After that, you have the daily active users, DAU. You know how many app downloads you've had, but just how indispensable is your app for those who've installed it? The daily active user metric will tell you just that, because this refers to each individual person using your app, not to the number of sessions. Each person is counted just one time, regardless of if they use the app once per day or hundreds of times per day. After that, we jump into activation. Track every step of the tutorial. Regardless of which tutorial style you choose, it's important to track every step in the tutorial. The tutorial is the most important part of a free-to-play game because it engages users and teaches them about their new virtual world. Track every step in the tutorial to measure the points where users drop off. Dissect the points in the tutorial that have the largest drop-offs of users and figure out why people are leaving. Is there a large point of friction that can be avoided? Is the mechanic difficult to learn? Maybe the example level is confusing and the user's goals need to be clarified. Whatever the cause may be, addressing these drop-offs in the tutorial funnel will help more users stick around. Screen flow tracks exist by screen, flow between screens, and total occurrences of visits to screens, visualizing the typical visitor interactions in your app. With screen flows, you can look at a particular screen in your app and see both what users did while on screen and where they went afterward. In looking at how users navigate your app, you can get a clear sense of problem areas, conversion road bumps, and drop-off screens. Screen flow analytics show you exactly what those users who didn't complete a stage did instead, enabling you to fine-tune your app's flow to increase conversions. You have also to consider start, fail, and complete. Starts measure the number of times a player starts a new level. A fail occurs when a user starts a level but does not complete it. A complete counts the number of times users complete a certain level. Are your short points appropriately difficult? Are users getting stuck on certain levels unexpectedly? Which levels are users having the most fun playing and repeating? Starts, fails, and completes can answer these types of questions. Permission granted to the app. A surprising yet important engagement-based KPI is when users grant permission for the app to access personal information. This information can include location information, which enables recommending a store nearby, or to share information to the user's contact list. This KPI is important because it signifies a bond of trust between the users and the app, which isn't inherently given to every app. We jump now in the retention. We have the cohort analysis. To calculate retention, separate your users into cohorts based on the day they download your app. The day that the download occurs is day 0. If a user opens your app the next day, day 1, they are marked as retained. This calculation is performed for user cohort on each day after they downloaded the game. Common days used for retention are 1, 7, and 30. Splitting out retention rate based on device, audience, and campaign, or by custom dimensions like purchase frequency, you can experiment with what's working and what isn't in your app. A retention rate can be calculated as the number of players who return to the game 1, 7, or 30 days after they started to play, divided by the number of all new players on the first day. By tracking this KPI, you will be able to better predict how your game will grow and sustain its users. Retention for cohort A can be calculated by following formula. Day X retention equals day X users divided by D0 users. And in this example, it will be the following. D1 60, D2 40, D3 40, D4 35, D5 40, D6 40, and D7 30%. To understand whether resulted retention good or bad, use this baseline that defines of 7-day D7 retention rates in usual mobile casual games. 30% is like amazing, 20% is like good, 16% is like the average, 12 is poor, and 8 is like, oh god, something is wrong, and we have to work on that. Session length is also an important KPI. It's allowing you to measure as the period of time between app open and close, or when the app times out after 15 seconds. It indicates how much time your users are spending in your app per individual session. By segmenting your users, you can see which audiences are spending the most time in your app and why. Tracking the length of user sessions is critical to unlocking revenue potential in your app flows. If you've got an e-commerce app, how long does your checkout flow take? If the average session length is 5 minutes and your checkout flow takes 6 minutes, you need to either encourage users to stay in the app longer or simplify the checkout process. Session interval is the time between the user's first session and his or her next one, showing the frequency with which your users open the app. This can signal the immediate value gained from downloading and running the app. When you know the typical time lapse between sessions per user segment, you can better optimize the user experience to prompt regular opens. Let's take an example. If you notice that tablet users have longer session intervals than smartphone users, it might be that you need to improve screen flow or design in your tablet app. You have also the session counts. Session counts are basic unit of measurement for app engagement. Most app owners want their app to be so engaging, and user never puts it down. Daily sessions per DAU gives you an idea of how often your customers make use of your app within a single day. This can help you determine whether your customers are returning to your app as often as you'd like them to be. Social media apps, for instance, might like to see their active users opening the app for a couple sessions a day. Churn rate is the opposite of retention. How many players that downloaded your game are no longer playing? In a free-to-play game, some users may play multiple times per day, while more casual players log in once or twice a week. To generalize, measure churn rate as a user who has not played in 28 days. Your churn rate is the amount of users who stop playing your game during a given time period. Now let's jump into referral. We've got a very interesting KPI here, the invite rate. The invite rate measures the average time it takes for a new acquired user who just installed the app to send an invite to another person to say, hey, this game is just awesome, download it. The higher the invite rate, the faster your app will grow. After that, you have the cycle time. This is the average amount of time between when an existing user initiates a referral, invites a new user to use the app, and the moment the new app is downloaded by this user. The shorter this period is, the faster you grow. The key factor is the measure of viral growth. A key factor of 1 means you're gaining 1 player for 1 existing player, and your game is neither growing or declining. A key factor of less than 1 means that your game requires marketing effort, else it might run out of players. While a key factor greater than 1 means that your game is growing exponentially. Most of the games usually have a key factor that is under 1, as most of the games do not grow exponentially. In terms of virality, the key factor measures the infections caused by 1 infected user. For example, if you have a key factor of 0.5, then each infected player will infect 0.5 other players and cause them to download play your game. This, however, is not true measure of virality because there are many factors that can determine the key factor, usually uncertain and unpredictable, that lead to this virality. As an example, if each new customer invites 5 friends, your I is equal to 5. If 1 in 5 invites converts to new users, your C is equal to 0.2. Now let's jump into revenue with the first KPI, conversion rate. The conversion rate measures the percentage of unique users that has made a purchase out of the total numbers of users that time period. You also need to measure the conversion rate of ads served in a free-to-play game. To calculate the conversion, separate your users into cohorts on the day you start measuring. If a user makes a purchase within that time period, they are marked as converted. This calculation is performed for user cohort on each day within that time period. Common days used for conversion rates are measured by a time of period of 2, 7, or 30 days. Splitting out conversion rate based on device, audience, campaigns, or by custom dimensions, you can experiment with what's working and what isn't in your app. The conversion rate can be calculated as the number of players who make a purchase in the game within the measured time period divided by the total number of players. By tracking this KPI, you will be able to better predict how your app monetizes user behavior. After that, you have the metric ARPU, average revenue per user. It measures the total monetization of active users with the same period. The main difference between ARPU and LTV is ARPU does not project how newly acquired users will monetize in the future. An ARPU of a certain value does not guarantee a financially successful game. It's all relative to the cost of acquiring users. And now the custom lifetime value, one of the most important KPIs, CLTV, is your primary revenue metric, representing the financial value of the app and how much each app user or customer is worth in his or her lifetime. It can be split out of average monthly value or value per customer, capturing wealth over time financially, and also in terms of loyalty, and evangelism. Customer lifetime value tells you how much each new customer is worth in his or her lifetime. It can be used as an indication of how much you can pay to acquire a customer. For example, if your CLTV is $2 while it costs $3 to reach a new user, you shouldn't acquire any users from this channel because you will lose $1 per new user. Also, customer lifetime value is the metric that indicates the total revenue a business can reasonably expect from a single customer account. It considers a customer's revenue value and compares that numbers to the company's predicted customer lifespan. Businesses use this metric to identify significant customer segments that are the most valuable to the company. Source, sinks, and flows keeps track of the sources, sinks, and flows of the app. Tracking all the sources and sinks of virtual currency will enable you to balance your virtual economy and determine if you are being too generous or stingy with how much currency users received from grinding. Knowing how often users purchase each item in your storefront will allow you to create new content that users will value. Sources are places where users can earn virtual currency. A sink is the opposite of the source. These are the locations where users spend their currency. Both sources then refer to hard and soft currency. Combining sources and sinks gives you the flow. Flow is the total balance of currency that your players have spent and earned. Now, I will give you some ideas for game monetization and overall improvements. For monetization, what is very efficient is mystery box. With the percentage of drop-off of great contents randomly, players will be willing to spend their money in this kind of object that will reveal different items with the possibility of having rare items. Usually these are cheaper. It brings excitement among players. Mystery box campaign. Run a campaign where you've got, for a limited amount of time, some rare stuff in mystery boxes easily catchable, and during that time being able to buy a lot of soft currency. It's something that is working. Associate ads in-game. Instead of receiving the daily amount of currency, we can double it by watching a very small video. It's free to play, so for instance, at the end of each game, showing a small video to promote another game or a product. Fusion events. In RPG, for instance, you can fuse characters and level them up. We can do events on top of that, like having a fire event, where only fire characters can be fused, so players will try to get fire guys from mystery boxes and then pay more money. Double XP events, so engaging for customers who are playing a lot and see how much difficult it could be to progress. They will come and play more in double XP events, so spend more money at the end. For the retention, tournaments are very huge ones. Also, to be able to play against people with friends, communicate is improving players' fidelity to the game, so you increase your retention. Also, social interactions like chat, clans, doing quests together are strong motivator elements for players to stay playing in the game. What I encourage you to do is to go to Google and write A/B testing, because it's something that I can't cover in this video because the video will be too long, and it's something that some people told me. So running great A/B testing at right place is crucial to determine the best path in the game to retain people. And that's it, guys. I hope this video was a great introduction and explanation on what is a product manager position and the different metrics you can use in your day-to-day job. Also, don't hesitate to comment the video just below if you have more information to bring, or if you have questions. It will be a pleasure to ask them if I can. Everything is good for you, Mr. Green Dinosaur?
Well, no. Everything you said was just crap.
Okay, let's talk about it later, man. Thank you, and stay tuned for other videos. Also, if not done already, please subscribe to my channel. I've got great stuff coming for real. Thank you.